Oh shit. Little Murph, one of the kids I went to school with at the time. Yeah, Murph, probably nowadays would say ADHD or something like that, but the biggest problem, he couldn't get a sentence out of the F-bomb at least once or twice.
What are you looking at me when you say that?
I'm just looking So anyway, Murph comes up and says, "Oh, good to see you, mate, how the fuck are you?" And then he said, "Oh, you won't believe what I've done. I've damaged the front of my ute." And I said, "Oh, what did you do? You didn't run into the power pole?" He said, "No, I hit a kangaroo." So anyway, I said, "Look, Murph, we've got to go to a meeting, mate. Apologies, we've got to move on, so good to see you." I looked over at Wines, he had a bit of a grin on his face. He said, "Oh, he's typical of your mates, is he?" So anyway, Wines said that he thought that was a good thing that I agreed to do it. He said, "It might be a feather in your cap, but you've probably not got enough experience to be a DBC manager, so don't set the sights too wide." So anyway, later that year, there was all these jobs on the go. There was DBC manager, there was ops and service manager, projects manager, and office manager. I think Greg McKenzie was the office manager here. So all those jobs get advertised, and I put in for quite a number. I got Wangaratta. But then I saw there was all these unfilled positions, and of course Horsham didn't have an ops and services manager, so it was a bit closer. And in those days, they put a rating on the DBCs. I think Horsham, because we had over 25,000 customers, was a grade 4. So more money, Wangaratta CEO, not going. So, yeah, come to Horsham in September of 1989. And back then, as I said, there was Greg McKenzie. Rod Smith was the projects manager. And I had, as the ops and service manager, I had the field service centres, had the privilege of looking after those. So we had Bob Lithgow, Tony McEwen, Jim Brennan and Wayne Cameron, they were the construction supervisors. And in the office, pretty light on because there'd been a heap of redundancies, like all these gold handshakes. So about half the lineys had gone. And in Horsham, I think we only had maybe 14, 15 lineys left. So, you know, it was a tumultuous time. And I'm remembering back and talking to John Mulcahy earlier, it was a difficult time because we had a lot of experience leading. We're trying to run the show and not much experience and not too many people left to help us out.
Uncooperative legal
So,
leaders.
we did have some region office people stay. Bert Sprague, Terry Dovey, still around. So we led on them. And Terry had changed. To be fair, Terry had a pretty fearsome reputation amongst the linings, but by the time that burden was taken off him, he was a different person. We saw a different side from Terry, and he was a bit support to us. So I look back at 1990, 91, you know, pretty difficult times. Now, Darren Burford we put him on as an apprentice in 1990. Birth here, by the way? No. He said he missed it. Yeah, because following the diagnostic review, there was not much recruitment. The focus was getting people out the door, getting rid of people. And so Birth was our last apprentice for almost 10 years. And he started there and soon came to Horsham. What I remember too of those times, major faults, pole fires. I was talking to someone about this the other day. The pole fires were just horrendous. Like we had, you know there'd be a dry, dusty day, a bit of light rain, pole fires. You know they're going to happen. You just knew what was going to happen. I remember the Nannymuck line, and I think the Japarac line all out at the same time, and between Christmas and New Year, it was a Christmas Day, some annoying time. And this is experience, but found a couple of poles that were cross arms out in Eddie Way. They weren't easy ones to change. We did those. Right, let's put it back in. Bang, straight out again. Keep going. I think we found about 6 or 7. Similar story at Chapara. And of course, bloody HV injections, don't sort of hear about it much now. But I remember one, Natty McRae, bloody New Year's Eve, hot night, everyone's been drinking, and the HV injection happens, whole HV injection happens, everyone's powers off. So blokes are out in front with their stubbies, you know, we're walking around, waiting for, I think we got the job done, we're waiting for an installation inspector to come from bloody Coaling or something. And copping a fair bit of flack. I can't remember who was on that job. Timmy Barber, Noel Kitchen.
Everyone's owning up to it.
They've all blended into one.
That was just absolutely shit house. But anyway, we don't sort of, well, in more recent times, touch wood, we haven't had so many of those. And around 91, I bought a house in Washington, Searle Street, hadn't been there long. And the neutral burns out at the transformer in Searle Street. So the bloody volts are floating around all over the place. People are running outside saying what's going on, the TV's blowing up. So that was another memorable bloody fault that I think we finished up with a room at McLaughlin Street full of microwave ovens and televisions and bloody refrigerators. Just a bloody disaster. So by this stage I was regretting coming to Horsham. Oh, and to make it worse, I had to get away. So girlfriend at the time, and they went up to Broken Hill for a few days. Come back to the house and there's bloody sticky notes all over the front door from Peter Stubby. There's a DVC message. Do this, do that. I gave him a blast. Anyway, thankfully it was not that long after that he left. On the poles, remember the Blue 7? We had farmers coming in complaining about blue sheep. And we went to Pole Saver around that time, around this early 90s period, and I remember the bloke that was promoting the product, and we were asked about, you know, is this stuff dangerous? Can it harm stock? Is it harmful to humans? And the bloke said no, and he said you can actually eat this stuff. Took a bite out of one of the children. That was leak in your product. So that was a big change away from what we've been doing with the poles to go to chalk sticks, which I think by and large will work. Skills extension, not a good memory of skills extensions. People getting pay increases for towing the trailer. I think Ronnie, you did asset or line inspections, and that was okay, except that you didn't really like build line inspections. From what I remember. But Ronnie had an innovation.
I couldn't see anything.
Hang on a minute. Ronnie had an innovation with a product called Dye-Bar. It was little granules of this herbicide that you throw 1 or 2 granules around the base of the pole, and that'd be enough to kill the weeds for the next 1,000 years. And Ronnie found that if you put them in this shaker, it was like a cup-sized shaker, put it around, they'll just sprinkle enough and it'll do the job. But I think the problem, Ron, when you're driving across the paddock, the shaker fell over and the granules were falling out the back of the ute. And I think poor old Cocky had a strip of land when he sowed the crop. There was just nothing. It was like nuclear wasteland. Right, so 92, 94, we're going into that period of corporatisation, so we're getting ready to be sold off by the state government. It's the Jeff Kennett thing. Wheeler Scribe, I think was the name of this is the new diagnostic review. DBC finished at that stage. Peter Stubbings left. We then became known for a while as the Electricity Services Victoria. And in that period, I was like 92 to 94, we had some interesting arrivals. We needed I think he was for a bushfire mitigation type role anyway. We did an interview and
Yeah.
that provided a fair bit of entertainment for the next few years. But yeah, he started in the early 90s, as did, we did a swap for we had a Paul Brodus, he was a leading hand, what was it? Construction supervisor, is that the right title? Brodus and Owen Duncan, those names. Anyway, Brodus wanted to go to Ballarat, and I said, well, we really need someone near. I think at that stage, Ron and Pete went up to Middle. How's that for dates, Pete? Early 90s, you went to Middle?
Oh,
30 years ago?
yeah, probably something.
Yeah, around that time. So we had very few, we had old Maxie and Don, and then we needed more. So we got Burko from Ballarat, that was the deal. I think we did well out that deal. And also had a cheeky young teenager from Oakland by the name of Decca. Carly made an appearance on the scene in that period as well. And yeah, so it was good. Even though we didn't recruit many, as I said, there's some quality there. Okay, so Powercall gets created. Eden Hope FSC closes. We only had 2 guys left to lead. Spike and Glenn, and they would get on. I remember we had a bit of a closure function there, and that was an interesting night. We got a very long bus trip back with a lot of stops along the way. Finishing up at Timmy Barber's place. I think your plant's got a good watering that night, Tim. Right, so then Powercall gets created. We get sold off to a mob called Pacific Corp. CEO is Dan Spaulding. By that time, I'd taken on the field activities officer role, which Bob Lee did. Because I turned up at Anderson Street and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm the new FAO." He said, "What's that fuck war?" That's sort of welcome I'm going to get.
That's true though.
Not far off.
That role the way you showed me. Right, so then that year also Warwick-Nabil FSC closed. And
Newsreader, right?
there was a PDPs there, a couple left. Holding up the Warwick, Mildura. A few terms abortion. Brian, there was a need for a disturbance payment, if you like, calculation about how long it takes to travel. And I remember Ian Turner was the boss then. The question was raised about what's the average travel time between Warwick-Nabil and Horsham in the truck. And Brian said 90 minutes. And Ian said, no. He said, well, I'm talking about one way. He said, no, I'm serious, 90 minutes. Right, why is that? Oh, well, there's sheep on the road, there's fog, there's a train crossing at Doon, there's roadworks. Like, he worked it all out, but I don't think that would start. But he was very determined that he would try and get the best that he could. And
Hasn't stopped since.
continued. I remember around that time too, I moved towards more live line practices. Back in the early 90s when I started, we had live linings in Calaby, what other live liners? Mick Farrell, Jeff Tracy. Not many, I think probably 4 or 5 at the most.
Tim
Who?
Barber, wasn't it?
Tim Barber, yeah. So, Actually, I've got a phone list from around that time. It says Tim Benson's live lines. So, but then by the late 90s, I think there was a lot more blokes who got their live lines here. In 1996, the front counter at McLaughlin Street was shut for the last time.
Shame.
There's a photo. There's a photo in the Powercall News of the day with Roger, Carly, and Pat Heenan, all smiling with huge smiles on their face, and I think that Carly thought, "Thank goodness no more ferals to live."
Wouldn't like to be there now.
No. So that was a momentous occasion. Then there was this move towards more contract labour, all that multi-competitive tendering stuff that came in. Nil FSC closed and the creation of rural energy. Also around that time, went back, an engineer decided it was a better idea to use wooden poles instead of concrete. VDPs were opened up again to everybody, and the asset inspection went out to contract as did vegetation management. Then in I think 98 or 99 we had the first new apprentice since birth, Ryan Lennon. And I think Luke Fraser after that. Right, so. But by the end of the 1990s there was only about 10 of us left in the office up in Watling Street. And it seemed obvious that it wasn't profitable. We needed to move out. So I put together a business, I was a area coordinator at the time, put together a business case to sell McLaughlin Street, refurbish the old store at Anderson Street and we moved around there. So not a popular move because I think the location wasn't quite as nice, but anyway. I had a lot of trouble getting management on board with that. They in fact signed off and said, yeah, go ahead with it. Pending budget funds. That's why I didn't get it, I wanted to prove it. Anyway, had a value of $300,000 for McLaughlin Street. And one of the local surveyor businessmen made a lowball offer with a heap of conditions on it. And this tic-tac for a few weeks. Anyway, Mario Plaza must have got wind of it and come in. I remember the day he came in. He said, oh, the property is for sale. I said, yeah. What do you want for it? Oh, sorry, things I'm trying to do. I said it's $3,000. Right, I have the money tomorrow. So, yeah, basically did the deal.